These belong to Emma now, my mother-in-law Diana said, her perfectly manicured hands caressing the antique jewelry box that had been in my husband's family for generations. Her voice dripped with satisfaction as she slid the mahogany case across the dining table toward her daughter. After all, blood is thicker than marriage. I sat frozen in my chair, watching as Emma eagerly flipped open the ornate lid. Inside gleamed the collection of family heirlooms that my late grandmother-in-law Martha had specifically entrusted to me before she passed. Delicate pearl earrings from the 1920s, an Art Deco sapphire necklace, vintage diamond bracelets, each piece carrying nearly a century of family history. But Martha gave those to Sarah. My husband James protested weakly from beside me. They were meant for her. Diana's perfectly lined lips curved into a cold smile. Your grandmother wasn't thinking clearly in her final days, dear. We all know these precious pieces should stay with true family. Emma is your sister. She'll keep them in the bloodline. I watched Emma slip on the pearl earrings, admiring herself in the box's tiny mirror. The same earrings Martha had lovingly fastened to my ears on my wedding day 5 years ago, telling me how she'd worn them at her own wedding in 1952. These look much better on me anyway, Emma smirked, tilting her head to make the pearls catch the light. A real Douglas woman. The words stung, but I kept my expression neutral. I'd learned early in my marriage that showing how deeply Diana and Emma's barbs hurt only encouraged them. Instead, I fingered the delicate gold locket around my neck, the last gift Martha had given me before she passed away 3 months ago. You're right, I said quietly, rising from the table. Thank you for taking such good care of them, Emma. Diana's triumphant smile faltered slightly at my calm acceptance. She'd clearly been hoping for tears or protests she could use to paint me as hysterical and grasping. I couldn't give her that satisfaction. Well, she sniffed, smoothing her expensive silk blouse, I'm glad you're finally seeing reason. Now about the summer house. That's enough, Mother, James cut in, his voice sharper than usual. The summer house belongs to Sarah and me. Grandma Martha's will was very clear about that. I squeezed his hand under the table, grateful for his support even though I wished he'd shown it earlier about the jewelry. But I understood. Years of his mother's manipulation had left deep grooves. We'll see about that, Diana muttered, but let the subject drop for now. I knew it was only temporary. Ever since Martha passed, Diana had been systematically working to strip away everything the kind old woman had left to me, claiming it all rightfully belonged to Emma instead. Later that night, as I got ready for bed, I caught James watching me with guilty eyes in the bathroom mirror. I'm so sorry about the jewelry, he said softly. I should have stood up to her more. It's just, you know how she gets. I did know. Diana had raised emotional manipulation to an art form over the years, wielding guilt and family obligation like perfectly honed weapons. Still, the jewelry hurt more than I wanted to admit. It's okay, I said, though we both knew it wasn't. They're just things. But they weren't just things, and we both knew that too. They were tangible links to Martha, the only member of James' family who had truly welcomed me with open arms. While Diana and Emma had spent the last 5 years trying to subtly exclude and undermine me, Martha had been my fierce defender and dearest friend. I touched the locket at my throat again, remembering the last time I'd seen her. She'd been so frail in her hospital bed, but her eyes were sharp as ever as she pressed the necklace into my palm. Keep this safe, dear one, she'd whispered. When the time is right, you'll know what to do. I hadn't opened the locket yet. Something in Martha's tone that day had told me to wait. But after today's events, maybe it was finally time. As James slept beside me, I carefully unclasped the delicate chain and examined the antique gold heart. It took some careful maneuvering, but finally the tiny latch clicked open. Inside was a neatly folded slip of paper, Martha's elegant handwriting instantly recognizable. My hands trembled as I unfolded it under the soft glow of my bedside lamp. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then I'm gone and Diana has likely begun her campaign to push you out of the family completely. I knew she would. I've watched her sharpen her knives for years. But what she doesn't know is that I've left you more than just jewelry and a summer house. There are papers in my old writing desk at the lake house. Papers that will make Diana think twice about trying to take what's rightfully yours. The key is inside this locket. You've been more of a granddaughter to me than Emma ever was. Stand your ground, dear one. The truth will set you free. All my love, Martha. Sure enough, tucked into the other side of the locket was a tiny brass key. I held it up to the light, my mind racing. What secrets had Martha been keeping all these years? And how would they change everything? I carefully refolded the letter and returned it to the locket, my heart pounding with equal parts anticipation and anxiety. Tomorrow, I decided I would drive out to the lake house. Whatever was in that desk, Martha had clearly meant for me to find it when I needed it most. And after today's power play with the family jewels, I definitely needed it now. The drive to Martha's lake house took just over 2 hours, each mile heightening my anticipation. I hadn't told James about the letter or where I was going, not because I didn't trust him, but because I knew his mother would somehow extract the information from him. Years of Diana's interrogations had left him with paper-thin defenses against her questioning. The house looked exactly as it had 3 months ago, when we'd last visited Martha here. The whitewashed porch still held her favorite rocking chair, and her prized roses still bloomed in neat beds along a walkway. Only the slightly overgrown grass hinted at her absence. Inside, everything remained untouched. Diana hadn't yet managed to get her hands on this place, though not for lack of trying. The antique writing desk stood in its usual spot by the bay window, morning sunlight streaming across its polished surface. My hands shook slightly as I fit the tiny key from the locket into the desk's central drawer. It turned with a satisfying click. Inside, beneath a stack of Martha's personal letterhead, lay a large manila envelope. For Sarah. Open when needed was written across the front in her distinctive script. I settled into Martha's old leather chair and carefully opened the envelope. Several documents slid out, along with a handwritten letter dated just 6 months ago. Dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then Diana has finally shown her true colors. I've watched her machinations for years, the way she's tried to undermine your marriage, how she's promoted Emma as the real daughter James should have married instead. It's time you knew the truth about Diana and why she's always felt so threatened by you. You see, Diana isn't James' biological mother. I found out shortly after she married my son Thomas. A nurse from the hospital where James was born recognized Diana, had a charity event, and pulled me aside. She remembered the strange circumstances, how Diana had claimed to have given birth while my son was away on business, but had actually arranged a private adoption and passed the baby off as her own. I confronted her with this information, and she broke down and confessed everything. She'd been unable to conceive and was terrified Thomas would leave her, so she made a desperate choice. Thomas never knew. I agreed to keep Diana's secret as long as she proved to be a good mother to James, and for many years she was. But I've watched her growing bitterness and obsession with making Emma the perfect child, and I fear what she might do once I'm gone. In this envelope, you'll find copies of the original adoption papers, my signed affidavit about Diana's confession, and the nurse's sworn statement. I've kept them safe all these years as insurance against Diana's worst impulses. Use them wisely. Remember, this information may hurt James deeply. Share it only if absolutely necessary. Sometimes the threat of exposure is more powerful than exposure itself. All my love. Martha. I sat back stunned. The other papers confirmed everything. Official documents showing James' adoption, statements from hospital staff, even old photographs showing Diana without any signs of pregnancy just weeks before James' supposed birth. This explained so much. Diana's obsession with bloodlines, her overwhelming favoritism toward Emma, her desperate need to prove Emma was the only real Douglas. She'd spent decades building her identity around being the Douglas family matriarch, and she saw me as a threat to that carefully constructed facade. My phone buzzed, making me jump. A text from Emma. The sapphire necklace looks amazing with my new dress. So glad these precious family pieces are finally with their rightful owner. A photo followed. Emma wearing Martha's beloved necklace, Diana beaming beside her. The casual cruelty of it made my blood boil. I started to type an angry response, then stopped. Martha hadn't given me this information for petty revenge. She'd given me protection, a way to stand my ground without stooping to their level. Instead, I texted back, "You both look lovely. By the way, I'm at the lake house going through some of Martha's old papers. She left such interesting documents. Would you like to meet for coffee tomorrow to discuss them?" The response was almost immediate. What documents? I smiled, tucking Martha's letter safely away. Oh, just some old family history. Very enlightening. I'm sure your mother would find them fascinating. There was a long pause before Emma replied, "I'll ask Mom when she wants to meet." I knew Diana would be calling any minute, probably in a panic, but for the first time in 5 years, I felt ready to face her. Martha had given me more than just evidence. She'd given me understanding. Diana wasn't the powerful matriarch she pretended to be. She was a frightened woman who had spent decades building walls to protect her secrets. And now I held the key to those walls. The desk phone rang, its shrill tone cutting through my thoughts. Diana's number flashed on the caller ID. I took a deep breath, channeling Martha's quiet strength, and picked up the receiver. Time to change the rules of this game. "What exactly did you find?" Diana's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. "Perhaps we should discuss this in person," I replied calmly. "The lake house seems appropriate, don't you think? Martha's favorite place." The line went quiet except for Diana's rapid breathing. Finally, she spoke. "I'll be there in 2 hours. Alone." When Diana arrived, she traded her usual polished appearance for something more frantic. Her designer blouse was buttoned incorrectly, and her carefully styled hair showed signs of anxious fingers running through it. I met her on the porch, where Martha and I had shared so many afternoon teas. "Would you like to sit?" I gestured to the rocking chairs. "Don't play games with me," Diana snapped. "What did you find?" I studied her face, the fear in her eyes, the slight tremor in her hands. For the first time, I saw past the intimidating facade to the frightened woman beneath. "I found the truth," I said softly. "About James. About you." All the color drained from her face. She gripped the porch railing for support. Martha promised she'd never tell. She didn't, not while she was alive. But she made sure the truth wouldn't die with her. Diana sank into the nearest rocker, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. "Are you going to tell him?" I sat in Martha's old chair, feeling her presence around us. "That depends on you, Diana. I don't want to hurt James." Martha didn't want that either. She wanted peace in this family, real peace, not just the appearance of it. "What do you want?" Diana whispered. "I want what Martha wanted, to be accepted as part of this family. No more schemes, no more trying to push me out or elevate Emma above me. We're both James' family. We both love him." Tears filled Diana's eyes. "I was so afraid," she admitted. "When I couldn't have children, Thomas wanted them so badly. The adoption seemed like the only way. Then when I finally had Emma, I thought I had to prove that you were a real mother." I finished gently. "Diana, you've been James' mother his entire life. Nothing changes that. But trying to erase me from the family won't make your position more secure. It only causes pain." She wiped her eyes, looking lost. "The jewelry should be shared," I said firmly. "Family heirlooms are meant to connect us, not divide us." Martha knew that. Diana nodded slowly. She always did know best. She straightened in her chair, some of her old dignity returning. "I'll have Emma return the jewelry tomorrow. We can decide together how to share them." "Thank you." I touched the locket at my throat. Martha would be proud of us having this conversation. "She wanted so badly for us to be real family," Diana said softly. "I was too afraid to let that happen." "We can start now," I offered. "Not as rivals, but as James' family, both of us." Later that evening, as James and I sat on the lake house porch watching the sunset, I felt Martha's presence more strongly than ever. The truth she'd entrusted to me had done exactly what she hoped, not destroyed the family, but begun to heal it. "Mom called me," James said, puzzled. "She invited us for dinner tomorrow. Said she wants to make some changes, make things right." "What happened?" I squeezed his hand, touching my locket with the other. Some secrets were better kept, not to deceive, but to protect. Let's just say Martha left us one final gift, the chance to be a real family. She always was the wisest of us, he smiled. Above us, the evening star appeared, the first light in the darkening sky. Like Martha's truth, it hadn't destroyed the day, but transformed it into something new and full of possibility. Diana would need time to fully change, I knew that. But Martha had given us the tools to build something better, not through force or exposure, but through understanding and compassion. The family jewels would be returned, but more importantly, the real treasure, the chance for genuine family bonds, was finally within reach. Martha had known all along what we needed, not weapons to destroy each other, but bridges to connect us. In the end, her greatest heirloom wasn't the jewelry or even the truth she preserved. It was the chance for grace, for change, for healing. And that was worth more than all the family jewels in the world.